go.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to day 2 of the AIRR-NA Global Guidance Summit. Today, we are kicking it off with a student panel. So we are joined by 2 current students studying at AIRR-NA institutions. Hear from them in just a second, but I will introduce myself and then I'll have my fantastic colleague Amanda introduce herself. My name is Ashley Monaghan. I'm the regional manager for the University of Auckland. And over to you, Amanda.
Yeah, hi everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. As Ashley said, my name is Amanda and I'm with the University of Roehampton in London, England. I probably should say where we're based as well, because I forgot that yesterday when we were doing our welcome call, but I'm in Southern California, but lived many years in London, so love getting to share with students and staff about the country.
Ohio in the Cleveland area. And we will have our 2 fantastic student panelists introduce themselves in just a minute. But first, we'll go over the agenda that we have for our session today.
So we've got lots of questions that we'll be firing at Laurel and Ruby, but these are kind of some of the areas we're going to be diving into. So academic and university choice, looking at, adapting to life abroad, as well as culture shock, their academics, and also just some things that they think students and counselors should know as you're working with students looking at going abroad.
All right, Ruby and Laurel, please introduce yourselves and share where you are studying, what you're studying. And yeah, thanks again for being here today to share your insight.
Should I start?
Go for it, Ruby.
Okay, so I'm Ruby, and I'm majoring in global communications at the American University of Paris. I'm about to be a senior in a week or so. And yeah, technically it's actually, I'm going into my 3rd year here at AUP because I did the IB program, the International Baccalaureate program in high school. And AUP just gave me a lot of credit for completing it in high school. So I got about a year's worth of credit. So that definitely helped for the tuition. And yeah, I don't have a minor just because my time is kind of shorter here. But yeah, as far as where I'm from, I was born in Washington, D.C., but my dad is in the Foreign Service, so we move to a new country every like 2 or 3 years. So most recently, I graduated high school in Harare, Zimbabwe.
Hi, I'm Laurel. I go to Goldsmiths, University of London. I study English with creative writing. Similarly to Ruby, my dad works for the army, and so I graduated high school in Italy, but I'm originally from Virginia.
Great. Thank you both for that. And kind of just following on to that theme, Paris, London, why did you choose those 2 locations? Did you have a career in mind? Is that why you were deciding on your degree? Tell us about that thought process that you had for even looking internationally, and then how you kind of honed in on your specific universities and subjects. And Laurel, maybe we'll start with you for this one.
Yeah, so I really love London. I visited a few times when we first moved to Europe. And since moving internationally, I kind of wanted to continue that and live in other countries and have like grow that perspective. So, and I absolutely adore London. It's a great city. And also when I'm looking at like with an English degree, like publishing houses, job opportunities, stuff like that, London's a great place for it. Um, and honestly, it was cheaper than some of the schools I was looking at in the States. So it just made sense.
Excellent, great. And then Ruby, yeah, share about your experience choosing Paris.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it was actually cheaper than a lot of the schools I was looking at in the US too, which was surprising to me. I always thought like Paris sounded so bougie. But no, I mean, we had residency in Florida. So I looked at a few of those schools, but I don't know, a lot of them weren't really calling to me. And then, yeah, as far as like out of state, it was quite expensive. And AUP offered a lot of scholarships for me, so that's what initially drew me to AUP. But I also think I was definitely looking more in Europe, but I also knew I wanted like the American curriculum. I looked at a few schools in London actually, and I didn't know what I wanted to decide, what I wanted to major in. In fact, I only really picked my major like a year later. So I really liked the American curriculum because I got to take a few classes in the beginning and just, I don't know, figure out what I wanted to do. And yeah, I thought that was kind of a bonus for, I think for like a lot of the European schools, they're kind of a little more strict, like they want you to decide right away. So I knew I wanted an American school, but in Europe, mainly for the location, I feel like a lot of my friends are just traveling every weekend because it's just so easy to bounce around here. But I also really liked the smaller universities, which is something, I don't know, not as popular in the US. Like, I don't think I could sit through like a in a big lecture hall. That just doesn't work for me. So yeah, my school is really small, like maximum like 20 people per class. So that was another thing that drew me to AUP. And also just, it's very diverse. Like there's people from all over the place. And yeah, that was another big bonus for me.
It sounds like you both really did your research, which is great. That's one of our top tips. But it sounds like cost, having that flexibility, and then, maybe that career, that profession in mind was also a draw for the specific locations too. So fantastic. I know there's a lot to think about when initially starting that process. So that gives us a lot of insight. And then, yeah, Amanda will dig into some of the fun stuff too with the living experience. I hope.
Yeah, we want to know a little bit more about your living experience as well. Just kind of thinking about where did you live your first year versus other years? What was it like adjusting to your new city, having not necessarily lived there before, of course. And then what was the hardest thing to leave behind? So if you want to kind of hit on one at a time or all three, totally up to you guys. But I'll go the opposite and start with Ruby this time.
Yeah, so where did you so yeah, my first year housing was like AUP housing. I was kind of worried because I knew it wasn't like the US with like all the dorms, and I mean we definitely don't have like frats or sororities or anything like that. Which I don't know, it was kind of a concern for me as far as like student life because it is a city campus. But yeah, the first year housing was yeah, AUP housing, and mine was actually like about 30 AUP students in my building, and the rest was just random Parisians. So that was kind of a different experience. There was also a lot of housings that had entirely AUP students, so that was definitely more of a kind of a dorm vibe, if you will. And so yeah, I also liked that there were a bunch of different options, and they were actually the housings for my school at least were all over the city. I mean, it really doesn't take too long to get across Paris by the metro. But yeah, I was in the 14th arrondissement, which was like on the line of Paris, and that was about like 45 minutes from school, which was a little farther for me, but I mean, it was also way cheaper. So there's a bonus there too. Um, but yeah, I felt like it was a really good transition for me because I still had people I knew and I still went to school with people. Like we rode the bus together. Um, but I also felt like I lived alone the first year. But again, like my friend was just down the hall, so I wasn't actually that scary. But yeah, I felt like it was a good transition because at times it did just feel like I was just living alone in Paris. But then I also had, my friends down the hall too. So I really enjoyed it.
What do you think was the hardest thing that you left behind? I know you've lived all over the world, so it's a little bit different, but either way.
No, yeah, I mean, I've actually never lived in such a big city. So in the beginning, which was kind of the best and the hardest thing. In the beginning, I was really worried about like the public transport. I'd never even like taken the metro before, but that was actually really nice. Like our student advisors in the beginning, they like took us all on the metro and we did our metro cards together and stuff. It was really sweet. So they took that into account that maybe not everyone has done that. But now I think that's definitely my favorite part about living in Paris is just the independence, and you can go anywhere at any time. It's been really fun.
That's awesome. Laurel, what was your living situation like when you first came to the UK?
Yeah, so I lived in student accommodation that was all Goldsmith students. Goldsmiths is a bit of an outlier in London universities because it is all on one campus. It's not spread about, but it's in like Zone 2 London. Um, so my accommodation was a 5-minute walk from my uni. And honestly, it was really, really fantastic. The receptionists, it was 24-hour reception. They were really lovely. Um, like majority of American dorms, you like share a room with somebody. Um, they don't do that here at all. So I had my own room. I shared a bathroom and like a toilet and a shower, but I had a sink in my own room. And honestly, it's not that bad, and it was the cheapest option. Um, so I think it's better than an ensuite because my room was bigger because I didn't have a whole bathroom in it. Um, yeah, I loved my accommodation. I just recently moved, um, just about 20 minutes away from my campus, into just a flat that I'm renting with 3 of my friends. I was really lucky with my cousin uh is married to a British girl. So she could be my guarantor for renting. Um, Without that, I wouldn't have been able to rent in the UK at all because they need a UK-based guarantor. So that's something to like consider and think about a little bit. I think the university can be your guarantor, but you do have to pay them. So it really depends, but I was really lucky with that. Um, I think the biggest adjustment for me is like, yeah, I've never lived in like a massive city. In the States, I lived in like just the middle of nowhere in like the Appalachian Mountains. And then in Italy, I lived in a very, very tiny town, um, just on the outside of it. So, um, but there was public transport that I used a lot in Italy, so I did get kind of the hand of that. But like, yeah, living in such a large city, just the things you have to be aware of. Like my phone has gotten stolen. But sometimes that just happens. Just things like that. But to be honest, it didn't take very long, and there's a lot of like a lot of my friends um live in London and like have lived in London their whole lives. So having them be able to show me about and figure out transport and whatnot, it made the transition really easy. Honestly, the hardest thing to leave behind was like my cat. Still trying to get her over here. But um I think I think for me because I've already moved away from America once before, the transition didn't feel as big and daunting because I'd already done it. Um but it is difficult to leave everything you've kind of known, especially if you lived in one spot. Um but yeah, for me it was mostly just my cat and my sisters. I miss them.
Yeah, I can totally relate. Thank you. Thank you both for that. It's really helpful to hear about your living experience.
And I think not that bad is high praise for student housing. So that's yeah, no, that's good to know. And we have heard that from other students as well, how it's a very different on-campus living culture, which is, I think a lot of North American students would be pleasantly surprised by. So, all right. So kind of shifting gears here and talking a little bit more about the academic side of it, but still a cultural question anyway. So the academic culture, how that different from your expectations? I think Ruby, you kind of alluded to this as well with, lectures versus class size and things like that. But how was that different? And then how did you feel connected to maybe those academic support services that the universities provide? So, Laurel, we'll start with you.
Yeah, the the reason I kind of also wanted to go to a UK university was because of the way that they approach academics. I knew I wanted to do English. I've been fairly set on what my path and where I want to be and what career I want to do for a while. So I knew English was what I wanted to do, and I knew it was all I wanted to do. I didn't want to do math. I didn't want to do like sciences. And the UK system, it's all I do. I only do English. I only study English. There's a bit of critical studies incorporated, but it's not like I'm going from an English lecture to like calculus. It's all very connected and supports my degree. I really, from what I've heard and some of my friends go to American universities, I really, really enjoy the way that the UK system does it. I don't have homework. I or I don't have an assignment that I have to put in every week. I have one paper for each class at the end of each term. At the end of the year, it's more because it's exams, but it's very independent studies or like independently led. Um, if you don't want to look into something, you don't. But if you want to read deeper into something and get help in learning more about something, there's great resources for it. I've been assigned, everyone in my uni is assigned a tutor who has about 10, maybe 10 students under them. And that's my academic tutor for all 3 years. It's mostly just for like if you have personal issues or you're struggling in class with something in particular, they're there to reach out to and help you through that. Or if just a class just isn't doing what you want it to do or you can't quite understand something, they can connect you with the resources. Honestly, the university support service has been absolutely incredible. Goldsmiths is fantastic, and also my professors are really, really great. And they're very supportive. And also I think just at uni, like everyone's an adult. So I guess from like high school to uni, like you're just an adult talking to other adults. So it's a lot more not casual, but like the relationship can be more personal. Um and that's really helped. Um should I go into the time and balance in school life?
Yes,
Balancing.
please.
Yeah. Um, I I only have well last year I had 15 hours a week of contact time, so that's like lectures and seminars. Um, I had about 2 to 3 books to read each week. Which it didn't start out like that in the beginning, it was only about one book and then it got more. But honestly, it's really not that difficult. I mean, I work 2 jobs now, so it's getting a bit more it's a little bit more difficult to kind of hold that, but I like to carve out time to hang out with my friends because it's important. If I burn myself out academically, then there's really no coming back from that. Um, so I yeah, I just make sure I have like on Sundays I don't do anything. Even if I haven't read books, if I haven't read a book for the week, on Sundays I don't do anything related to school. Um, I've kind of put that aside for myself so that I don't um I don't burn out and I stay like excited about my courses and what I'm learning, and also am able to put effort into like my friendships and connections and things like that.
Thanks, Laurel. Um, and Ruby, what about you? And then also, yeah, the school life balance as well. How do you manage that?
So yeah, as far as what are the differences in the academic culture, I feel like for at least for AUP, I think I was really pleasantly surprised with how much they made use of the fact that you are in Paris. For even just like my French classes, obviously, I mean, I didn't speak a word of French when I first got here, which I initially was really scared about, but it turned out there was a lot of people in my beginner class. So that actually ended up being okay, and I had to take 2 semesters of that since I was a beginner. But yeah, I loved it. I think it was just so different from what I'd taken. Like I took Spanish all throughout high school, and I just felt that it was a lot. I think my teachers, like we learned a lot more practical things. Like we would practice like how to order at a restaurant and how to go through the grocery store. Just if I just found it a lot more useful, and we did just a lot of we would just have conversations throughout the whole class, really. Um, and I think even just not in my French classes, even just even for my math class, we went to a museum. Like we're always just getting outside of the classroom, which I really, really enjoyed. Yeah, I was surprised by the math class one, but we went to the math museum, um, kind of by like the Tuileries Garden. But yeah, we also had a thing called our first bridge, where I think because AUP is a liberal arts college, they kind of want you to branch out a little in the beginning and not stick to your major so strictly. So I joined one called Facets of France, Paris, and the Countryside. And like the first semester, we would explore like the metros and cafes and markets and stuff in Paris, and um, analyze it through like a literary lens and an anthropological lens as well. And then it was a 2 semester class. So then the next semester we went to like the countryside of France. So I really loved how all of my classes have really made use of the location. I think that's why a lot of people are going to UP anyways. Um, and yeah, I was also, like I said a little bit earlier, I really picked AUP because it was a smaller school. Although it doesn't actually, I was kind of concerned about like just the size in general. I wanted that to kind of be bigger, but honestly, since it's a city campus, like I'm never really seeing everyone all at once anyway, so I've actually never really noticed that it's a small school, but I really like the small class sizes. Like, yeah, I think I said like max 20 people per class, and then like as I've specialized more, it's even been like 10 students. And I've loved that. It's really worked for me. I think like a lot of my professors will like call on you when you're not paying attention, which I don't know, not everyone loves that, but it works for me. And I know all of my professors, like they know my whole life story. They'll like send me internships that they think I'll be interested in because I know them that well. So that has been a really, really pleasant surprise for me. Um, and I think also I was also again, yeah, pleasantly surprised by um, the curriculum that they taught. I mean, it is an American school, but I feel like all of my professors and their teachings are just so globally, or are just very well rounded. Like all of our readings are not just by American authors, and all of my professors, like I've had professors from India, Pakistan, Iceland, Australia, Japan, the US, Canada, from all over the place. So I also really liked that. Um, what was the other? Oh, yeah. And then how do I manage my time and balance it with school life? I don't know if I mean, it's probably similar to a lot of universities, but yeah, my classes are really Mondays and Thursdays, for example, like next semester, Mondays and Thursdays, I have like one night class, and then the rest of the week I have class from like 10:30 to 3. So I think I definitely have a lot of time to explore Paris. I don't ever really feel overloaded with the amount of class hours. And then, yeah, I mean, of course, there's homework and stuff, but I've actually really enjoyed the later classes because I feel like I've kind of been having a chance to refresh before the class during the day. And then I get to go out after that at night and just and relax and meet new people. And yeah, I found that really worked for me. But yeah, I think it's a really good balance. I think they provide, or at least for my school, they provide a lot of time for you to explore Paris. And they also encourage it too. Like we have lots of clubs and stuff. Like there is one actually called Explore Paris. Yeah, just a lot of clubs encouraging you to get out there.
Great. And how is your French now that you've lived there for a
Oh,
while and you've been out
well,
exploring your
it definitely got
non-academic
better.
French?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely got way better. I literally spoke not a word, which was kind of embarrassing. But no, there was actually quite a few people in my beginners class. But I think also something that helped was trying to push yourself to make friends outside of your school. I mean, because a lot of my school is American. And yeah, now I have a French roommate as well, so that really helped too.
Definitely. Oh, that's great. All right, Amanda, over to you. More fun stuff.
Yeah, that actually leads very well into this next section of about your social life and the community that you both have found. Yeah, we're just looking to know, how did you meet people when you first got there? Like, I'm assuming you turned up maybe without knowing many people, if any at all. I know, Laurel, you said you have your cousin, but it's different when you're trying to meet new friends. So what did that kind of look like? What kind of activities did you get involved with? Did you try to get involved in some of the clubs and societies or sport or anything like that to help that process along? Yeah, Ruby, if you want to start, we'll keep ping-ponging.
Yeah. Um, yeah, that is a good question. Um, I think for me, I tried to join as many. I mean, you do definitely have to push yourself. AUP also being a city campus, and it's just Paris is a big city. And I think, yeah, my school is kind of a smaller campus, so I'm not really seeing people I know all too often. And usually, like when we're walking in between classes, you're just in Paris. Like I rarely see people that go to AUP. So that was kind of difficult in the beginning, and it's definitely something to consider. Because you do have to push yourself. I found in the beginning, like the first semester, I was kind of just going to my classes and then going home and making dinner and doing homework. Like, it's very easy to like fall into that routine. Um, so yeah, I think that is something to consider. But I found what really helped me was joining lots and lots of clubs. My school has tons because I think people are just trying to get more involved on campus. We even have like things like Comfort Club, which is like people just get together and watch movies and eat. Because I think it was like a lot of people were feeling homesick, so someone started that club. But yeah, so there's tons of opportunities for that, and that's how I've made majority of my friends, just because I mean they're interested in the same things you are. Um, but then I was in Paris during the summer, and yeah, a lot of my friends were just going back home to the US or wherever. So I was trying to look for more French friends as well, and I actually joined Bumble BFF, which I don't know if you guys have heard of that,
I
but it was really
have.
successful. I initially, I don't know, I was kind of, I didn't really think it would work out. But yeah, it was so successful, and it was also, I met a lot of English speakers, which was nice, because you can like change that in your settings. Um, yeah, of
Oh,
being
looks like
on that app, and I just like went to her house, and she said she was inviting some of her other new friends, and then I just made a whole friend group that way.
that's
Oh,
amazing.
is my connection cutting out?
It is a little bit. Yeah, that's okay though. I think we got the gist of it.
Oh,
Um, but yeah, I totally endorse Bumble
yeah,
as well. Bumble BFF. You can find new friends that way in your local
yeah,
area.
it was successful. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you, Ruby. Laurel, what was your experience like when you first got there?
I got really lucky with my accommodation. I like to say that I won the flat lottery. I lived with 10 people in my flat and 20 people on my floor. The 10 people in my flat are mo almost, I would say, 8 out of 10. I'm incredibly close with still now. I'm
Nice.
living with some of them. But also my accommodation was like very social. Kind of switches about, like you never know, apparently, because I'm going into my second year. But sometimes one accommodation is like more social than the other. I just happen to get the really social one. That's where I found most of my friends. To be honest, I was doing a really terrible job of making friends with my course mates. I would like come back home every day and complain to my flatmates. I'd be like, I don't have any friends in my course. Turns out they were really trying, and I was just leaving because I felt I felt like I didn't. Oh, I don't know if they actually want to be friends with me. Turns out they did, and now they're some of my dearest, closest friends. Um, I I actually didn't really join societies. I want to, and I should have. I kind of chickened out. I was planning to join the basketball society because I played basketball in high school. Um, but I just chickened out and I couldn't do it. But I think that's a really good thing to do. Like especially because I know a lot of people who are in different accommodations and they barely know their flatmates. I mean, they've lived with them for a year and they have no idea about them. They don't talk. They don't like sometimes it just doesn't work. Um, and societies are really great. Also Freshers Week was where I met a lot of people I know still. Um, it's I went to every single event. I just did it all. And I kind of had to push myself out of my comfort zone for that one because I'm not like super social usually. Um, but it's kind of a good way also to get to know your flatmates because most first years go to all the freshers events or at least some. So you're like getting ready and you have somebody that you're going with. It's all this group of people. And my student union is really excellent. It has tons of societies. Um, I'm actually starting a knitting society with my friend.
Oh,
So
that's
people can
lovely.
come and knit together and
That's
like
awesome.
eat snacks and talk. Um, but it's really easy to start one. And also because it's a campus university, I see people I know all the time. Um, it's a very small campus, but everybody's on it. Um, there's like not really any buildings that are off campus at all. It's all connected. It's just they kind of bought out like this section of New Cross, and it's just all Goldsmiths buildings. So you're constantly running into people, constantly seeing everybody you know, um, which is really nice. Yeah, and then I work. So that was a way that I kind of made friends outside of my university. Um, is I just my coworkers are really great. Um, and so I mean like I hang out with them quite a bit just outside of work. Just because we like hanging out together. So I think that's a good option, but it's kind of hit or miss with coworkers sometimes. So
Yeah.
you never know if you're like a if you'd be friends. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah.
It sounds like you both really found like your groups of people, which is, of course, what we really want, what we want to hear. We want to know that. And I love that you both did that in such different ways as well. Totally relatable to not necessarily want to jump into clubs and societies. You're in a brand new space. It's hard to do that, whether you're an extrovert or an introvert. So yeah, no, thank you guys for sharing your experience about that.
Great. Okay, so shifting gears to professional opportunities, that was kind of a nice segue with coworkers, and how many different opportunities there are to meet people when you are getting your degree overseas. But this question was kind of answered, partially anyway, about having a part-time job or two jobs. What about internships? So actually, for this one. Tell us about any kind of professional experience that you had, and then maybe how you have started utilizing AUP's Career Services Department office for support post-university.
Yeah. So I do the tours at AUP, so I'm like very on it. I know all of the offices, so I mean that helps. So I go to them a lot just because I have to know about them. So yeah, they have the ACE Center, Academic Career and Experiential Advising. It's a whole floor, and again, yeah, since my school is pretty small, there's literally always someone there to help you. Yeah, you don't even really have to book a meeting ahead of time. You kind of just walk in. But yeah, so that's like internships, also just jobs around Paris, and just like planning your degree, or you get like a degree planning worksheet, and that can be kind of like daunting in the beginning, but they'll help you with all of that. As far as more like casual or part-time jobs, um, just yeah, looking to make some easy money in the beginning. Um, AUP actually has like a whole database where a lot of French families are looking for native English speakers, whether it be like to babysit or to tutor. So it's in like really high demand. Like last I checked, they'll like put up ads for their family through AUP. And last I checked, there was like 70 ads. So that was really nice to hear because I was kind of worried about my lack of French in the beginning, get a job that way. Because yeah, I always just assumed I'd work at a cafe or something, but I couldn't at the time. So yeah, that was definitely something that was nice to have. So I did babysitting, and I also did like English tutoring, um, which I think definitely um, helped me find my interest in just English teaching in general. That's how I kind of got interested in it. And now I'm hoping to join the JET program after college here, where basically you teach English in Japan. Mainly because I want to live there. That's kind of how everything has gone in my life. That's why I came to UP to live in Paris. But yeah, so that's kind of how I learned that I was interested in that kind of career path. And yeah, a lot of my other friends, they have just like local cafe jobs, or you can work on campus as well, like tutoring or being a tour guide, or just like at the Amex Cafe is what they call it, just the uni cafe. But then, like I said earlier, kind of a lot of since a lot of students have a very close relationship with their professors, they'll let you know about like internships that they think you'll be interested in. Again, there is like the whole internship office for that. I think for a lot of majors at my school, at least, internships are required. I mean, yeah, maybe it's not all of it's definitely not all of the majors, but for a few of them, like you have to get like an experiential learning check off on your degree planning worksheet. Um, and yeah, there's tons of them. You also don't have to like stay in Paris or in France to do your internships. Like a lot of people just went back home to the US and did theirs, and it still counted as like a four credit class. So then they were only taking like 3 classes and then did their internship. Um, I think I touched on everything.
No, that's really, yeah, paints a really good picture, and there's a lot of opportunities for students in English speaking countries, but clearly a lot of opportunities as well in
Yeah,
non-English speaking
yeah.
countries. Um, so with that being said, just kind of being mindful of time here as well, Laurel, maybe you could tell us a little bit more about how you are, maybe how you found your positions, I think too. And yeah, just how that's going to kind of tie into your career path.
Yeah, I also do tours at my university. I'm a student ambassador. That was the first job that I applied for. It's a bit difficult when you're on a student visa to get a job, because they have to do paperwork through the embassy, and I can only work a certain amount of hours, and it's a whole thing. But no, I applied because I applied to be a student ambassador, and because I could choose my own hours, and also that I had experience for that. Um, that's not necessarily gonna help with what I want to do career-wise, maybe a bit, just because there's a lot of diverse things that I do, within, like, it's not just tours, it's tons of different things. But my school second this is actually one of the reasons I chose Goldsmiths is during my second year of university, they have an option for a career module where the university sets you up with connections, helps prep your CV, helps prep you for interviews for all of like for any internship you could possibly think that has to do with your degree. Um, and like some people work at like poets or authors' old houses. Some people work for publishing companies. Some people work for the Poetry Society. But it's a module. It's like a class in your second year, so that you kind of have that foundation, that experience when you graduate, or if you go on to like further internships. Um, I work the ambassador job, and then I work at a pub because it's more consistent hours, and I need it to pay my rent. That was more of like it's very difficult to get even a pub job. Just in London, the career market is crazy. Um, but also just as a international student on the visa, to be honest, it was mostly nepotism and chance. Two of my very good friends already worked there. They kind of talked me up to their managers. They needed all women on the bar, and I went and worked. But yeah, but it's nice to have one job where I can choose my hours, and then one job where I can't. So I just kind of fill in the 20 hours that I'm allowed during term time, or the 35 that I'm allowed outside of term time, to try to just make as much money as possible, because I don't have like a maintenance loan.
Yeah, well, and you definitely spoke to network as well. So that is not lost. And there's friends and flatmates and all sorts of ways to stay connected. Um, so yeah, that's great. All right, back over to you, Amanda.
Yeah, I got lucky with all these fun questions. So yeah, looking at kind of travel, I know you guys are both very well traveled. So maybe talk to us a little bit about like any misconceptions you might have had about London, about Paris, or just traveling in general. And yeah, maybe just like one shout out of your favorite place you've been to since you've lived in your respective cities. I'll start with you, Laurel.
Oh, sorry. Um, Misconceptions about moving overseas. I think I'll just like my misconception about London, I think, because I can't quite remember my misconceptions when I first moved out of America. But um, no, I thought London was going to be, well, and my mum did too. She thought a bit more dangerous than it actually is. Um, you hear a lot of different things about phone snatching, which does happen and did happen to me. Um, but honestly, that was I think the biggest misconception was that it's like just not very safe. Um, Especially like there's a lot of prejudice against south of the river, which I do not support. I think south of the river is some of the best parts of London, and people
Agree.
really miss. But no, it's you just have to, be smart about things. Yeah, not have your phone just out and about. Don't walk down a dark alley at night, things like that. But as long as you're smart about it, it's fairly safe. The best place I've traveled during my studies, I've actually not traveled too much. Actually, no, I went to Dover, which is not traveling very far. But I went to Dover on a day trip with my friend. Outside of like going home to Italy, I've not really traveled too much just because I try to work as much as possible. But I went to Dover on a day trip and it was really fantastic. And we just hiked the cliffs of Dover, and it was like really wonderful weather, and it was like a really cheap day trip. And I think, especially when you're in a big city, there's a lot of day trips that you can take that take you outside of the city. Because I think for me, sometimes I just feel like I'm a bit of a time loop, in the same chunk of the city. Especially I've got a lot of work and I've got a lot of uni, um, and I've always been in the countryside. So I think like taking advantage of the fact that you are in a place where public transport, it's such a hub for. Like it's so easy to get out and go to different places, and it's really cheap. Um so I went to Dover and it was really lovely. And then I think that's my favorite place I've been while I've been in London. Yeah.
And you could wave at Ruby, seeing France just across the channel. No, thank you, Laurel. What about you, Ruby? What kind of misconceptions did you have about Paris or France?
Um, I think, and I mean, people still ask me this when I tell them I live here, and they're like, "Oh, is everyone just so rude to you?" But I've never experienced that. I think that is like the common misconception about Parisians. I've never experienced that. I think you just have to be accepting or just be aware of the fact that you're in someone else's country, and like if they don't speak English, it makes sense. Like it's France. So I think just um I've always had pleasant experiences. I think just saying in the beginning, or at least trying to say it in French, be like, "I'm sorry, my French isn't very good. Do you happen to know English?" And everyone here speaks English, so I've never really had an issue. Um, but yeah, and if you ask them that way, they'll always be nice. I feel like that is one of the main misconceptions I've heard. I found really, really friendly people here. Also, a lot of people who want to practice their English too, which is nice. So people want to talk to you. Um, but I think also I'm trying to be a student advisor now for orientation week next week. And a lot of my advisees have been asking me, or they're just like expressing concerns about pickpocketing. Like, yeah, I mean, same in London as well. Or yeah, phone snatching and things like that. It hasn't happened to me. But my family also lives in Bogota, Colombia, so like I think we're like hyper aware. Like I never like there I never even take my phone out. But here I felt super super safe. I haven't I mean, granted, yeah, you're not gonna like hold it by the metro door. That's like what usually happens. People like snatch it and run off. But yeah, I think just being aware. Because in general, I felt super safe. Also, just being a young woman and also initially living alone too. I was kind of worried, but I felt really safe. I think, yeah, just obviously not walking alone at night. But like even transport, I've taken it alone at like midnight and felt super comfortable. I think Europe in general, a lot of, I don't know, people just stay out later. So like but it's always a crowded metro. Like I never feel like I'm just wandering around alone in the city. My apartment is in the second arrondissement right now, so that's pretty central in Paris, and that's also made a big difference because there's just always people out and walking around by my apartment. I'm never like in a deserted area ever really. But yeah, as far as travel opportunities, I mean, there's been tons because it's just the best location. Um, I mean, I did like a 20 euro round trip bus to Brussels, a Flix bus to Brussels, just for the day because I'm like cheap. I didn't want to pay for like a accommodation there or anything. Which honestly, I think I like nailed it. I did all of it in a day. And then, I mean, my school also has a ton of like the cultural programs office is really, really busy and they have tons of trips. They go to like Iceland and Japan and India and yeah, really, really cool places as well. Um, but yeah, I've gone to London a few times. I'm planning on going to Croatia soon. I've been to Spain a few times as well. I mean, I still have school, so I'm not really traveling all the time. Um, but yeah, I think that's about it.
Perfect. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. This is the last slide we have, so we will just keep it brief so we have some time to get some questions from the counselors. So we're joined today by counselors who will be sharing this information that they gain with their students. What is one quick piece of advice that you would want them, the counselors, to share with students who are considering international universities? Generally speaking, anywhere in the world, France, UK, Australia. Laurel, we'll start with you.
I'd say research as much as you can and try to do things like yourself. It seems a bit daunting, but I did all the applications for everything all on my own. And that's made me like having like I just understand it. So if anything goes wrong, if anything happens, I know exactly what it is because I did all the research and I applied myself. So yeah, that's my biggest tip is to just research all the options like so really thoroughly to get to like make sure you have exactly what you want.
Awesome. Due diligence. We love it, Laurel. Thank you. Ruby, how about you?
I think for me, I would say being open-minded and pushing yourself, because otherwise, why are you studying in that country? You don't want to stick in your bubble too much. Yeah.
Great. Excellent. And so with that being said, I think just one more plug for the counselors to have, if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A. And in the meantime, we do want to just share some of our upcoming events that we are hosting through AIRR-NA, with a registration opportunity for you as well. So starting next month at the NACAT conference in Columbus, we have our international reception at the Columbus Museum of Art at the Pizzuti, very exciting venue. And then we kick off our annual counselor tours starting in Texas and then West in the new year. So please register to get some more information. And of course, reach out to us if you do have any specific questions or if you're interested in hosting at your school this year or in the future. So with that, thank you for your attention today. We are going to take it over to the Q&A to see what questions we had come in. Amanda, I don't know if you were
Yes.
checking it out to see. Awesome.
Yeah.
Let's see what we
Yeah, so
got.
we do have a few questions already here, which is great. And some of these you guys have actually very helpfully answered as we went, so that's been really good. I would probably start with this question. What sort of reception did either of you or both of you experience as US citizens, especially with the geopolitical landscape? Was there any anti-Trump backlash? Like did you find anybody treating you differently because you were American? Because I know my own experience, I definitely experienced that, even though it was like 20 years ago. So I would love to, we'd love to hear, what you've experienced recently, if anything. Either one of you can go.
I honestly, people don't think I'm American. So I don't know why nobody thinks I'm American. Um, so rarely do I get it. But I remember right after the election, just a bit like people just having conversations about things they had no clue about. I think there's a bit of uh maybe I don't know how to quite like maybe just naivety in the way like they just don't understand the way that our voting system works. So it's very different than I think the UK. So yeah, right after the election there was a little bit of just some weird comments and but to be honest, not that bad. And again, like I'm not quite sure why, but nobody thinks I'm American. Everyone's really shocked and thinks I'm lying to them. I have to show my passport and this whole thing. Um, so I don't experience that too often.
That's good. That's good to know, though. Good, better to not be harassed by people who don't understand what's going on over here. Ruby, have you experienced anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, people usually tend to know I'm American more. I think I have the accent a little more. Um, but yeah, for me, I will say here, I mean, I've been here for 3 years now. But yeah, a little more recently, I have felt somewhat judged when I tell people, definitely not in my community, in the AUP community, which is nice. But I also think that's why we're studying abroad to get everyone's perspectives from around the world. So, I mean, yeah, it can be a little annoying, but it's good to learn about.
Yeah, thank you both for that. That's really, really good to know because I'm sure that's something that parents are asking our counselors that are here today and are wondering about. So that's really helpful. Thanks.
Yeah, that's a really timely question. So, and I think you both are handling it well, and different places probably have different reactions or implications as well. So that awareness is key for students and counselors and families, like you said, Amanda. There is a question in here that we didn't touch on too much, but it's an important one about budget. London and Paris, I guess it's kind of maybe a stereotype that they're very expensive cities, and that might be the case. How have you two found budgeting activity? Do you have to get out of the city and other areas to, explore a little bit more with your budget? Ruby, what about you? You did mention it with the Brussels trip, so maybe
I was
expand
gonna
on
say
any
I
kind of
have
budgeting tips.
Yeah, I have so much to say about this because I'm really into it. It's like I just feel like yeah, I think Paris is a lot cheaper, or there definitely are cheap ways to live here. For example, my rent, which is obviously a big concern for a lot of people. I mean, granted, this is not going to work for everyone, but my roommate and I looked for a one-bedroom apartment and then a bigger living room, and we kind of just divided the living room in half, and then put like that was kind of my area, and then the rest of it was the living room, and she took the bedroom and obviously paid more. So my rent is like 700 euros a month, and it's in a great location. We kind of prioritize location over, I don't know, size of the apartment, because I just felt like, why am I living here if I'm not going to be in the dead center of Paris? So, and yeah, the French government actually gives me 130 euros a month. So my rent is like 600 now. You don't even have to be French. They just help students pay for their rent because they know living in Paris is expensive. So I think 600 for the center of Paris is pretty good. Um, and then as far as there's tons of student discounts. Like the Europeans really love their students. So like
Yeah.
all live music always has a student discount. A lot of it's free too for students. All the museums are free for me. Like I can go to the Louvre anytime I want. So I think that's a great option as well. And then yeah, the traveling is also pretty cheap. For some reason, I was like so excited about the Eurostar and the trains, but those are kind of expensive. So I've been taking a lot of flights, and then I like bring like the tiniest bag because I don't want to pay for that my luggage either. So I've seen like Paris to Rome for like 30 euros round trip. So it's definitely doable.
Laurel, do you have anything to add to that? That's a really good insight from you, Ruby.
Yeah, London has like the most expensive public transport out of any city in the entire world. So it is it is expensive. But well, I don't really go out in Central. I think that's where people kind of make the mistake because they just go to the big touristy bits and that's where they find really expensive stuff. Like it takes a bit of time, but you can really find cheap or free places to go out, get food, and also there's a lot of student discounts. If you're going to the UK, there's like uni beans and uni days. I get like a fancy matcha every Monday, with the discount. And there's discounts for everything. I do have two jobs, but that's mostly just because I don't have a maintenance loan. But yeah, my rent, I live in zone 2. I live in Peckham. It's a great place to live. It's incredibly convenient. There's always stuff to do. There's parks, there's flea markets, there's um music. It's a really great place and really well connected to Central. I pay £700 a month. Um I have a fairly nice sized room. I've got a living room, I've got a balcony. My landlords are great. So yeah, it's a it can be really expensive, but I think it's kind of what you make it. Um, I know there's some of my friends they'll order in food and go out and do a bunch of stuff all the time. You kind of have to prioritize and um make cuts where they're needed and but it's never been something that it's held me back. Yeah, like I went home to Italy to surprise my mom for her birthday, and it was £40 round trip for a flight. So it is cheap if you make it cheap. You just have to kind of work and find the good spots, and it takes time. But um, yeah, I also bike everywhere to avoid to avoid the price of public transport because it is very steep.
That is good to know. On budgeting, but also on everything that you both shared about your student experiences in France and in the UK. So thank you, Laurel and Ruby, for sharing that insight. I'm just mindful about time. We do have our next session, portfolio and audition guidance, in just a minute, literally. So I just wanted to thank you both for sharing that. And of course, if counselors have any questions, they can reach out to us. But wonderful insight from you both. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for joining us, everyone. We really appreciate your time this morning or their evening.
Morning, afternoon, and evening. So enjoy the rest of the
Everybody.
summit. And yeah, thank you all for being here.
Bye, everyone.